Welcome, this is Dana Susan Beasley, and you're at the Lost Art of Play video. I'm going to be sharing with you 3 practical ways to spark joy in learning and life for immersive homeschooling. But before I get started, you may be wondering, why do I have a crown on in that picture, and why am I wearing a gown? Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. I am Queen Amadarian of the Secret Fire, half-elf, the healing mother of Lanafe. Yes, my work is play. I am the enrichment program director of probably, as far as I know, the only Christian live-action role-playing club and camp in the nation, and probably the world. So what on earth brought me to do this? It was childhood play. I'll tell you the story in a minute, but first, you may be wondering, why is this important? Why does play matter? Well, here's why, and I found it encapsulated in this meme. Scientists have recently determined that it takes approximately 400 repetitions to create a new synapse in the brain, unless it is done with play, in which case it takes between 10 to 20 repetitions. That's powerful. It reminds me of when I was in 5th grade. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't remember that much from school, especially elementary school. But what I do remember is my 5th grade class. And what we did is a whole semester long, we played an Oregon Trail role-playing game. And it is something that I have remembered for years. In fact, I shared this idea with my nephew, and it sparked an idea that has recently become reality, but I'll share more about that later. So here's another reason why, and this is very personal to me. So here in this meme it says 1 in 3 are overweight, 1 in 6 has learning disabilities, 1 in 9 has asthma, 1 in 10 has ADHD, 1 in 12 has food allergies, 1 in 20 has seizures, 1 in 54 males have autism, 1 in 88 have autism. And I can't help but editing the grammar. Anyway, 50%, half of all children have chronic illness or are overweight. This is the new normal in our country. Are you concerned yet? And this to me is a personal issue because most of my family have Asperger's. So what does play do? Why is it important? Play is important because it brings joy, purpose, and it's important for growth. It's important for mental health. There in that meme you see right there, it says, your child's mental health is more important than their grades. Let them be little. Let them be creative. Let them play often. In short, let them be children. That's something that today's society seems not to be doing at all. And I'm going to take a sip of water. Hold on. But it's not just for little people. It's for growing kids, it's for teenagers, it's for adults, it's for the elderly. So here's a question for you. What happens when you don't get a break? I get cranky. I'm sure my family can attest to that. So I have a question. I have another question here. What is your place of wonder? What was it for you when you were a child? My place of wonder, and one of the reasons why I do what I do, is a place called Narnia. When I was in 3rd grade, my teacher read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe aloud in class. And it was something that I was enthralled with. So my friends and I decided to play Narnia in the mesa behind our house. And that is a picture of part of the mesa. Now, since that happened years ago, they built a neighborhood there, so there's only a little bit of that mesa. And last spring we were there and took some pictures. But that is what I called Narnia. That was my place of wonder. So what's happening to play, and why are we losing it? Well, there are many reasons. There are the incredible pressures that parents have academically. I see it all the time with homeschooling parents especially. What if my child is behind? He's not reading yet, and he's only 5, and it just goes on and on and on. And then the whole idea of cutting physical exercise so that time is made to sit at a desk and do worksheets. That's happening in public school, but it also happens, I'm sure, in homeschooling communities. And then the other thing is communities are not supportive anymore. There are so many people that report on other people, like, oh, how dare a child be playing by himself out in the backyard even. There's things like that happen. That happens to us too. Sometimes not even wanting to go outside because of a nosy neighbor. And then there's the reliance on gadgets and media. I see this all the time too, and it's something that we've struggled with as a family. Can't go outside, can't play because we're playing online. We are in front of our iPhones, in front of our smartphones, in front of our computers, at PS3s, and all sorts of things, and it's become a national obsession. So what has happened as a result of this? And here's a poster, a banner that I thought spoke to this. Too much gadget use can damage your child. It can cause speech delay, attention deficits, learning problems, sleep problems, childhood anxiety, and childhood depression. So, do I have your attention yet? Do you think maybe that this might be an important topic? Okay, so we've talked about why play is important and why it's diminishing. Now let's talk about how we can find a roadmap back to the joy of learning. So here are 3 practical ways to spark joy in learning and life. And we'll talk about each in more detail. First of all, get a new mindset. That is the first step to finding this lost art of play, to spark joy in learning and life. Here's a few places to start. Don't parent out of fear. I know it's hard, especially in these days. God has not given us a spirit of fear. There are over 300 verses in the Bible on fear. I think maybe it's a little important to God. Fear short-circuits God's best in our lives and our families. It's building life on sand and not on the solid rock. Relook at your time commitments. Re-examine them. Do you need 3 different sports at one time for each child? Do you need to run every day from one activity to another? Why are you so busy? Where can you cut back? Give your children time to explore. So along with the above suggestions, like I said, give your children time to explore. Now, just a little personal story. When Sam was in 1st grade, my son Sam was in 1st grade, he went to a private Christian school. And it was all worksheets, and we spent 3 hours after school stressfully in tears trying to get his work either caught up or do his homework. And then I realized that he was like a round hole in a square peg. So we took him out, we started homeschooling. And I gave him ample time to explore on his own. So that's how my son learned all about dinosaurs. He learned about World War II. He's learned about weather. There's so many things that he's learned that I never could have taught him. What was that? Taught him to that degree. So that was because I gave him some time to consider. The other thing that we did is we did unit studies, and I highly suggest that you look into unit studies. What we did is a curriculum called KONOS. Worksheets and textbooks do not have to characterize your homeschooling. Movement activities, project-based, hands-on activities, what's called living books is so much more vital to homeschooling than a textbook or a worksheet will ever be. We do not have to bring public school at home. This is something I realized early on when I started homeschooling my son in 2008. I did not have to bring the school experience at home. In fact, I didn't want to, because the whole point was to eliminate the stress that we were experiencing. So it's strange to me. Why do we leave the public schools and then try to duplicate them at home? I always shake my head at that. Listen to your children. Their behavior might just be crying out for help. All behavior is communication. Children need our respect. Let me say that again. Children need our respect because, well, they're human. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Also, look to God. Always look to Him in this adventure. We'll probably never be able to put the genie back in the bottle as far as kids being active, playing, and not being on video games and such, but we can look to God for help. He promises to be right there with you. And then do not expect perfection. Nobody's perfect. This will take time. Ditch this mindset of perfectionism. Oh, this is so rampant in our society. You've got to be perfect. You've got to be Johnny on the spot all the time. Having the perfect education for the perfect grades, to go to the perfect college, oh, we put so much pressure on these kids. To get the perfect job, that's not going to help your kid in the long run. So, what do we do? Well, we play with them. Now, if I could put on a gown and a crown and play, you can too. In fact, our whole live-action role-playing club and camp started because I listened to my son's obsessions. I figured out he liked medieval sparring and interactive play. How did I figure that out? Because he was playing that kind of stuff on he was playing a medieval game on the computer. I built this program, the LARPing program, around him for his well-being and his education. I entered into his world. Why do kids play video games so much? It's safe and they get instant feedback, instant positive reinforcement. Do you have a child who won't come out of excessive gaming? Use it. That's how I got my son away from the computer, or at least away from it for just playing mindless games. Everyone says he talks more, and now he is more sociable. And like I said, Sam has Asperger's. There were times that he talked to no one, not even family members. So what can you do? How can you practice immersive learning in your homeschool? Well, here's some ideas, and I'm going to take a sip of water again. And of course the phone rings while I'm doing this video. So, board games. There's so many out there. Just go to the thrift store. Of course, you have to beware, there might be some missing pieces. But educational games are at teacher stores. And in a book I'm going to talk about here in a minute, I have a list of popular board games. So, board games are an excellent source. And then there are some other games like silly games. So you don't have to be serious all the time. It's important in bonding to laugh with your kids. There are a few games that I'll describe. There's one called Elephant, and that's a silly game where you make hand motions, animal signs. And then there's Spoons, the dreaded Spoons, that nobody will play with me because I will probably twist their finger off. But it's a card game where you have spoons in the middle, and you have one less spoon than there are people, and you're competing for those spoons. And when you get a 4 of a kind, you are supposed to snatch up the spoons. And it's hilarious, very hilarious. I have fond memories playing Spoons when I was little. And then play active games such as Fox and Hound, Capture the Flag, Kick the Can. You know what? You will have fun playing these games with your kid because in all likelihood, hopefully you're going to be reliving your childhood. So that's how I feel when I play with my kids, with my own kids and with the kids that we work with in our LARPing group. Am I the best at it? No. Am I a professional actress? Oh, certainly not. That's not what matters. Put your insecurities aside and just do it. But it brings back the best in me. It does bring back the best in me. I remember my own childhood with fondness. All those games we played. We played a great deal of active games like Kick the Can. I would visit my grandparents in Wyoming, and we would play kick the can over the whole span of this neighborhood in Sheridan. We played fox and hound. We played Red Rover, Red Rover. So incorporate these into your school. You do not have to do worksheets. Now, one of my favorite resources is Carol Barnier, and she has some great ideas. Things like using the trampoline or jumping from construction paper to construction paper with a math equation. She has incredible ideas, so look up Carol Barnier. Use a shower curtain for math problems. Yeah, I did this once. I took a shower curtain. I drew a hundreds chart on the shower curtain. I blew up balloons, put them in some select places. Then I yelled out some equations, and my son shot the answer. We had a great time. He shot the answer with an airsoft gun. And then there's hopscotch. Hopscotch is a wonderful game to play. Use that to learn math facts. Use it to learn spelling. As I mentioned a minute ago, jump on a trampoline. There's something about saying memorization facts in a rhythmic memory as you're jumping that gets that better into something more than short-term memory. And then using music. These are great great memory devices, because let's face it, the normal way of doing school, it gets it into your short-term memory and then it's gone the next day. And then, like I said, be silly. There's elephant, there's spoons. One of my favorite games is Balderdash, and I can remember playing those during the holidays. And then learn how to Learn how to role play again. Remember when you were a kid and you played store? Or cowboys and Indians, cops and robbers? Play with your kids pretending. Long ago, when we were getting my son used to the idea of flying on an airplane, we turned our whole house into an airport. And we had a conveyor belt, and my husband wore an Air Force cap like he was a pilot, and he pretended to be the pilot. And we had suitcases, and we had a waiting room, and we had a boarding thing, and oh, it was so much fun. And he had a great time, and then that really helped him to the real thing. He doesn't have a problem. So yeah, that's live action role playing. And live action role playing in itself is such an interesting thing to do and very helpful. And it's something that can be done anytime, anywhere. You can use role-playing as a learning tool. That's what we've done with our live-action role-playing and a new role-playing curriculum that we created. In fact, through our LARPing club, 2 students who couldn't stand to write sentences before they came to our club, guess what? They're now writing novels. That's how much they love it. So what do I remember most academically from school? Like I said, it was the Oregon Trail, when we role-played one whole semester. Give your child experiences. So, for instance, my growing up, we went skiing, water skiing, horseback riding. I had horseback riding lessons. We went on adventures. We camped around the world. And unless you think that we were some kind of rich family, no. My dad was in the Air Force, and I was the youngest of 5. And we traveled all over the world in a 1968 Red Dale camper. In fact, last summer I found a 1976 Red Dale camper, and we bought that, and so we've been going on adventures ourselves. And last spring we went to Texas and New Mexico, and we did things like go to Palo Duro Canyon. We went to Carlsbad Caverns. We went to the Roswell. I went to the UFO museum. That was really fun for me. And so we did things like that. And then recently, over 4th of July weekend, we went camping in the mountains and had a great time over the 4th of July. So, and then when you do this, combine school, work, play, and family, and see what happens. This is truly immersive. This is integrating your life and learning, and it's life-changing, and it brings joy. So when we did the trip to Texas, my son learned more about regional history and geography than he ever could in, a traditional classroom setting. And not only that, but you learned practical skills because he drove our camper. He's 18, mind you. He drove our camper all the way through Texas. And then when we went to the mountains recently, about a month ago, he drove all the way in the mountains. He's done all of that. But it also brought us closer as a family, and it gave us all a much needed break. And because we combined it with work, when I went to Texas and I gave a speech down there, then I can count some of it for taxes. And that speech was about another curriculum that I wrote about helping families to start their businesses. So by integrating life and learning, you can rediscover joy this way and find play again. So what are the results of doing this? Happier kids, happier families. And that's no joke. It's really true. Better academics. Like I said before, we had 2 kids that could not write. And when they came through our program, through play-based learning, they were writing novels. And then it helps with teamwork. When we went to Texas, we definitely had to have teamwork as a family. Problem solving. Oh my goodness. We had a lot of problems to solve on our journey, let me tell you. And then it brings up creativity. That is an invaluable skill these days that will pretty much determine whether your child will be a leader or a follower. And then it also gives you a desire for excellence, and it definitely gives you more confidence. Like I said, my son, he talks now to people. He didn't before we started this live action role playing. So, and then it also gives you critical thinking, and it helps with public speaking. It's another reason why I'm able to do this video is because all of the live action role playing and all the playing that I've done with that has helped my confidence level as well. So, bottom line, it equals a better future. And here's a quote from that banner you see. When you start to do the things that you truly love, it wouldn't matter whether it is Monday or Friday, you would be so excited to wake up each morning to work on your passions. That is why childhood play is so important. That's how I was able to find my passions and do what I do today. So, I want to get practical because I always like to leave you with something that you can do right away. So we're going to talk about your play plan. Because let's face it, it's easy to listen to a lecture and then forget. So what can we do? I want you to make a play plan. All I want you to do is think of 3 ways you will play this month. It's based on our book, The Lost Art of Play. Think of 3 ways you're going to incorporate play into your family, life, and school this week. Now in the book, I have 50 ideas with your kids and 50 ideas for you. I'll read just a few from the book. Hang on as I open it. Okay, 50 creative ideas you can do with your kids. Rent a camper or tent and go camping for a weekend. Learn to do the bunny hop with your kids. Get on the floor and play Legos with them. Build a fort in your family room out of blankets. Go to a puppy training class with your children and your puppy. Take your child to lunch. Ride a steam train with your children. Have a Nerf battle. Go to a carnival. Go hiking. Play store. Learn your child's video game. Race go-karts together. Draw together. And that's just a few of the ideas. And notice, they don't all cost a ton of money. And then 50 creative ideas you can do to recharge your own batteries. Listen to music. Join a gym. Eat healthy food. Go shopping by yourself. And just an aside, when Sam was young, that was very hard to do. So I would go to the grocery store at night, and I would get in that one little trip to the thrift store right before the grocery store. That's how I fed that need. That's how I got my break. If you are not a musician, take some lessons. Go on a retreat. Color in a coloring book. Learn how to do Zen tangles. Run in a meadow. Smell some flowers. Learn a foreign language. Write down your goals. Plan a cruise. Do a DIY project at home. And again, some of these are expensive and most are not. So it doesn't take a lot of money to recharge your batteries if you really need to. I mean, you will need to, but you don't have to spend a lot of money on it. So, creative ideas. So those are the creative ideas to recharge your batteries. What I want you to do is to choose 3 different kinds of play, like I said, to do with your kids this coming month, and then go play. So that's all on my webinar. And now, I mentioned before that a couple of times that we have this book called The Lost Art of Play. And that's what I want to talk about now is our book. Like I said, it's called The Lost Art of Play, Be the Hero Your Child Needs. And that's by myself and my nephew, Nathan Creed. It's a short book. It's a very, very quick read. So let me talk about some of the benefits of this book, what you're going to learn. You are going to learn why play is important and why play is being forgotten, and I go into much greater detail in the book. You're going to have practical solutions to include play into your everyday life and into your homeschool. You're going to come away with a play plan, a much more substantial one, that you can implement immediately. And then there are the 50 ideas for playing with your children and the 50 ideas to help you as a parent recharge. Here is what the book covers, and this list here is just the first chapter. And you can see it's quite lengthy just for one chapter, and they're quick. It's a quick read, like I said. So here are some things you'll learn. The role of play in child development, what play does for the brain, what play does for a sense of purpose, what play does for a sense of joy, the mistake we make with academics, the mistake we make about recess, the mistake we make about art, what has happened as a result of less play, why more kids are diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, why mental illness is on the rise, why people everywhere are grumpy. And this whole book, I did a lot of research, and so it's based on a lot of expert studies and findings. And in the back, there's a full reference list that you can research for yourself later. So, I have a very happy announcement. Today only, you can get your free Kindle version. And today is the last day. So, in the link below this video, you will find the button to go over, or the link to go over and get your Kindle copy. But I have another option. You can get your own signed copy. And that would mean I would sign it and my nephew would sign it. So that is just $5 plus $2 shipping in the U.S. continent only. And that has very limited availability. Like I said, it's signed by both of us, and this offer ends on Sunday. So let me reiterate this. What are the results of play? Play invigorates the brain. It helps those with sensory and special needs. It creates lasting learning, develops critical thinking, and enhances creative expression. But don't take my word for it. Here's what one reader had to say. Dana and Nathan remind us that it is perfectly okay to stop adulting and unleash our inner little kid. In doing so, we show our kids how to release the stress of life and take a break from reality, if only for a moment. They need it, and dare I say, so do you. It's from a reader in Tennessee. So, Play gives you and your children a sense of purpose. It is the very essence of motivation and inspiration. Without it, life becomes dull, boring, routine, and it lacks that spark. But with play, we experience a recharge of our batteries. We experience joy. And that's a quote that I wrote from the book. So when I share with this, if you have any questions and answers or questions, I will try to answer them in the link. I tried to do this live on Facebook, but that just wasn't going to work for me no matter how hard I tried. Sometimes the best plans of men and mice, well, I never can remember that quote, but sometimes our plans just don't turn out the way we thought we would. So you will also find the link to purchase the book if you would like that. And so remember that that deal ends on Sunday. So I hope that has given you some encouragement. This is Dana Susan Beasley signing off.